Is consent. There are long-term disabilities, there are situational disabilities, there are temporary disabilities. It counts as a disability where a video game like Elden Ring is concerned if you have a kid. You have
What? No, no, she did not say that. She did not say that. Let's listen to that again.
is consent. There are long-term disabilities, there are situational disabilities, there are temporary disabilities. It counts as a disability where a video game like Elden Ring is concerned if you have a kid. You
Having a kid is not a disability. Oh my god. Like, does this person park on the handicap parking spot and when pressured, they're like, well, I have a kid? Like if she goes in a bus and there's like the handicap place, does she sit down while the kid stands up? Because like she's got a disability. I mean, the kid doesn't have any disability, right? So that would make sense if you're going on the bus that you could require a person to give you a seat because you have a disability, right? The kid can also stand. Again, he doesn't have it. You know, it's through the magic of internet that I have to interact with such individuals because I filtered them in my life. You know, in my day-to-day life, it only takes a couple of conversations, and if I realize that you're this type of person that makes these types of statements, I will just give you the cold shoulder. Like, I will just ignore you. I can't believe what I'm hearing. Anyway, right, it's the internet. I gotta get used to it. I haven't got used to it up until now. I don't know how I'll manage. But like the thing that also shocks me is like, all right, you know, like you have a person that has a genuine disability. Like, let's say they are legally blind, okay? So it's very difficult for them to navigate through life. And because, you know, we do have compassion and empathy, and we do want to try and accommodate that person as much as we can, you know, we come up with various apps on phones, and we come up with various things in video games to make it more accessible for people who are legally blind. But to look at that and say, you know, like, I want the same compassion and empathy, even though I'm not legally blind. So like, what? Why are people so nice to that guy? Oh, it's because he's disabled, right? I want to have that mantle. Because if I have the mantle of disability, even if I'm not disabled, then I get society to give me the same compassion and empathy like that guy. So now that guy who is disabled, we're going to classify as permanent disability, and I'm going to classify myself as temporary disability, but I want literally the same respect, admiration, empathy, and compassion that the other person is getting. Do you see what I'm saying? Isn't it like very disingenuous to play the language games like this, to play word games like this? Like comparing a person that's a mother and has to take care of a child with a person that's disabled is incredibly disingenuous. Holy shit.
is consent. There are long-term disabilities, there are situational disabilities, there are temporary disabilities.
Yeah, and we shouldn't treat them all the same, right? We shouldn't accommodate people all the same. Like someone has a temporary disability. I don't know, a bug flew in his eye, right? And now he can't open the eye for a couple of minutes. Yeah, I don't think he's in the same category as a person that's permanently disabled. I don't think he should be able to go to a university and apply for a position that's reserved for people who are disabled, right? Because like right there, he's like, what did you call it? Temporarily disabled. I mean, it's completely ridiculous. You know, like one of the things that I heard the blind person say to describe his condition was like, you can never know how it's like to be blind. And someone from the class actually said, well, of course I can know. Like, I can close my eyes and I can see how it's blind. And the blind person said, yeah, but you always know you can open them again. Right? So, like, temporarily disability compared to permanent disability are things that are so separate that including them in the same category is incredibly disingenuous.
It counts as a disability where a video game like Elden Ring is concerned if you have a kid. You have a 2-year-old, you're trying to play Elden Ring, you can't pause. That is a situational disability that you have. Where
I suppose if you live in a dangerous neighborhood and there's gang shootings, you know, there's drive-by shootings and stuff like that, is that a disability as well? Because, like, you also can't pause the game, right? Like, the shooting is literally outside the door. You can't even go to see what's happening. But again, you know, like, okay, so you got Elden Ring and you got a kid. Why do you care so much about a video game? Like, I get it, you need entertainment, right? So you go and you play something, but at the end of the day, you should spend more time with the child if he's so young that a pause button is so important and you consider it to be a disability. Like, your primarily focus should be with the child and the video game should just be something to fill up the time. But anyways, it's very difficult to understand.
Where the game not having the option for you to be able to pause, for example, is a hindrance for your particular disability.
Yeah, no, like, this is a person that wants to be an activist and speak on behalf of an entire community. So they're basically trying to say that, oh, look, I have a disability too, right? Now, she's not in a wheelchair, she's not legally blind, she's not missing a limb, but she want to pose herself as if she's having a disability so that she speaks from a power of expertise, right? Like, she's an expert in these issues. Listen to her. She knows what she's talking about. Not to mention, you know, and here's the kicker. If you really want to have a pause button for the game, you can go to the task manager and it just pauses the process. Like, there actually is a pause button. Yeah. How do these people deal with stuff that doesn't have a pause button, is not a video game, and is important? Like, I don't know, cooking, right? Like when you cook, if the kid starts crying or does a mess and you have to leave the kitchen, are you going to complain that there's no pause button on the cooking appliances? Or if you're doing something else, I don't know, like you're driving and that doesn't have a pause button. Or heck, you know, what if you're watching TV? What if you're watching, right now FIFA is going, right? Like, what if you're watching soccer and your kid does something? How are you going to pause it if it's live? What if you're watching a live stream? Like, come on, you know, this is absolutely ridiculous. I do get it that certain games that are single player should have a pause button, but to say that this would be like accessibility for people that have disabilities is absolutely ridiculous, right? And to complain, oh, the game is so hard, it doesn't have a pause button. I mean, really? Really? And especially when it doesn't even apply in this case, because there really is a pause button. Like, as I mentioned before, all you gotta do is go to the task manager, and that's it. Like, it pauses the process. So you can do whatever you want, and then you can come back to it. I think even if you Alt F4, if you're on computer, right? Like, if you Alt F4 during the game, when you reload the game, it's actually during the boss fight. It's kind of inconvenient, I get it, but there are options, right? Now, usually the developers don't have a pause button simply because it might mess with other processes that the game has. It's not that it's impossible to add, it just takes coding time, and most companies would just focus their resources on other things. I'm not against a pause button per se in Elden Ring, but to say that, oh, well, we need it for disabled people to be able to play, and disabled people are apparently like my wife now, which is having a kid, like, that is incredibly disrespectful. And by the way, I wouldn't encourage you to go out and to say to other women that have children that they're disabled. Like, if you do that, you're going to get slapped, right? So, again, the internet. The magic of the internet brings these types of arguments into my bedroom. Because, like, they would never manage to get into my life. I'm really good at filtering people. Like, the moment you say something that I consider to be absurd, you get, like, one strike. I'm like YouTube. You know, the second time you get another strike, and if you have 2 strikes within the period of 3 months, and you get another, that's it. Like, I'm giving you the cold shoulder. I'm blocking you. No. You get to say 2 absurd things every 3 months to me, so more than that is unacceptable. Let me know what you think, though, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.